So how's everybody? Cool. Good to hear. So, first of all, I think I mentioned last time, I try to record all the sessions of this class. So my voice and whatever's on the screen is recorded as a like a YouTube video, and I post those in the information section of Blackboard in the syllabus. So if you go to the information section of Blackboard, open up the syllabus, and go down to the schedule on the syllabus, the date of each class will have a hyperlink. If you click on that hyperlink, it'll open up a YouTube video of the class session. So if you miss a class, or if you want to go back and review something that wasn't clear, sometimes I have hiccups with my recording program. I'm doing it all myself. I don't have like the support from the IT staff, so sometimes I forget to record it, or there's a problem with the file or something. But most of them I'm able to record, and I post them on Blackboard there as soon as I do. So that's for your information as we go forward. And today we're going to talk about the critical foci: website, online materials, customer outreach, and expert advisors. So just to kind of recap, we talked about why the skill sets in this class are important, and a little bit about what they are, and what my background in entrepreneurship has been. We're going to go into more detail today on the things that are, to me, the most important part of your projects in this class. And that is the website, your customer outreach, and your expert advisors. So going to the course documents section of Blackboard, and opening up the lecture that says critical foci. So there's other important parts of this class and elements of business planning that you'll learn, but the most important thing of all is the interplay between just three things. Like, everybody in here is going to, for your project, is going to develop a website really quickly. And that website is important so that you can represent, you can describe the venture, you can put pictures up, anything that you can do to describe the venture and make it more concrete, you're going to do in the website. You're then going to expose that website to sample customers, or expose sample customers to that website and get their feedback on it. And you're going to do the same thing with expert advisors. So it's a relatively straightforward process of creating a website and then bouncing it off of a bunch of people for ideas. And the more bounces that we do, the more quality information we get on how to craft the business and how to do the other elements of the business plan. So the main important thing in your projects is to get a website that is as robust as possible, running as early as possible, and then send links to that website to everybody that you could think of and get their feedback. And the more feedback you get, the better. The faster the feedback comes, the better. Because everything else that we do to plan the business is driven by the feedback that we get from expert advisors and sample customers. So as far as the website is concerned, it's there particularly to get ideas out of your head. So this is not a web development class, it's an entrepreneurship class. I'm gonna teach you the basics of getting a down and dirty website up and running. It's not going to be like advanced HTML coding and stuff. It's nothing complex. But the important thing about a website, the same thing that's important about a business plan or about brochures or anything like that, is that it gives other people something concrete to focus on. And the reason I prefer a website is because you don't have to make copies of it, and you don't have to send it around physically. With one click, everybody can see everything they need to. So, but the idea is the reason it's there is to get ideas out of your head and into a format that other people can give you feedback on. So, to the extent possible, I really want you to brain dump everything, lists of features that the product is going to have, questions that you have that you want people to answer, anything. More is better when it comes to getting information onto the website. So the idea, the concept here is to get all of the ideas out of your head and into a format that other people can give you feedback on. There's a couple of software products for web design and graphic design that we're going to use in this course. Photoshop and Pixlr are the main things that I use for graphic design. How many people are familiar with using Photoshop? Okay, a couple of you, but not very many. Photoshop's really cool. It gives you the ability to make pretty high quality looking graphics right on your desktop. And it costs about $19.99 a month to rent it. I've given you the information. It's worth it. It's a really great product, and you can rent it on the cloud for like $20 a month. Pixlr has almost all of the same functionality as Photoshop, and it's free. So you don't have to buy Photoshop to be a part of this class. If you're interested in developing websites for your own business going forward, I recommend it. It's more robust. It's a better program than Pixlr, but you can do what you need to do for this class with Pixlr if you want to. And I will walk everybody through how to use both of those softwares in this class, and then we'll put our hands on to create websites based on what I teach you. So the graphic design portion, in addition to finding logos and pictures of the people that are on the project team and stuff like that, a lot of times it's useful to have a visual description of concepts, so like a flow chart or kind of a map of the way various elements of the product work, or the way the sales process is supposed to work. A lot of times it's helpful to have a graphic description of something, and it's much easier to put those graphics together in Photoshop and then move them into the website than it is to try to build them in the website directly. So that's why we use Photoshop and Pixlr, so that we can create graphics that we put into a website. And the two tools for web development are Dreamweaver, which is done by the same company that creates Photoshop. You don't need Dreamweaver for this class. If you're going to be doing a lot of work with websites in the future, Dreamweaver is very useful to have, and I think you might even be able to get Dreamweaver and Photoshop for $30 a month. So they may give you a package deal if you get more than one of the software, because it's from the same company. But website called Wix. How many people in here have used Wix before? Okay, some of you. Wix is a great sort of paint by numbers website that allows you to make really good looking websites for all you got to do is point and click. And I'll walk you guys through how to use it. These are the addresses for both of those here. Customer outreach, talking to customers first, not second. These are a couple of flyers from back in the day when I used to work for the music website in Hamburg, Germany. There's a lot of things we did wrong at that company, but there's a few things we did right. And one of them was to get feedback from as many customers as we could, as quickly as we could. So we basically went out to music festivals that were going on around Germany during the summer, and had people fill out as many of these cards as we could. So just getting name and email address, and then getting feedback from them on whether they're interested in interviews, games, news, what content they were interested in having on the site. And we collected hundreds and hundreds of these cards really early on in the process of building that company. So you don't need to collect hundreds and hundreds of feedback from customers in this class, but you do need to talk to as many as you can, as soon as you can. So you want to do that. A lot of times people will wait too long to get feedback from potential customers. You want to make everything perfect. You feel like the website doesn't look good. You feel like you don't have a demo, you don't have a demonstration product, or you don't have any, like, you're going to open up a bakery, but you don't have any food to show anybody yet. A lot of times you're afraid to get started, and I want to disabuse you of that fear in this class. Like, the sooner you get talking to people, the better. So when it comes to customer development, there's sort of alpha and beta customers. And to get started, it's as simple as who comes to your mind as somebody that you think would like the company, like the product, like the service. So the first thing you're probably going to do is talk to friends and get their input. That's usually the first place most people start, is to show the website to their friends, maybe to their family, and get feedback from them. And then we build based on that. So the things that you want to get, you want to get the initial, just an initial reaction to the product or service. And then it's important to get an idea of people's availability. Like, you don't need the same thing for all customers, but if you have people who really are available to give you in-depth feedback, those are really valuable to have. So get an idea when you talk to people, not just of their initial answers, but can I go back to you and ask you more questions later? Can we talk to you once a week or once a month? Figure out how available people are to give you further feedback, because it's going to be really valuable going forward. The more input you can get from outsiders, the better. It's important. It's important that people have an interest in what you're doing. So the ones that are going to be available are usually ones that want to see you succeed because they're a good friend of yours, or they're your family member, or they just really love the product or service that you're doing and want to see it come to fruition. The ones that are available usually have some personal interest in your product or service. And then, in addition to their initial reactions to the product or service, you want to get a brain dump of as much information as you can from them. And then you could also get referrals from the initial people you talk to. So once you talk to friends and family, ask them, in addition to their input, who else do you think might be interested in this? And then get referred to them and get their input on it too. There's a couple of things that are particularly important to brainstorm and brain dump with beta customers and alpha customers. How they use the product or service. So, like, literally, when do they use it? If it's a bakery, how often do they go to the bakery? Where, location-wise, do they go? How much do they usually buy? You also want to know about lifestyle habits, attitudes, and opinions, especially people's habits when it comes to advertising media. You want to ask people, if you were looking for this bakery, would you respond to an email that you got? Would you pay attention to an email that you got in your inbox about the bakery? Would you go to it if a friend referred you to it? Would you ever search for a new bakery on Google? If you saw somebody, if one of your friends liked a bakery on Facebook, would that make you interested in going to it? You want to get an idea from customers about all the different advertising media that they might use if they were looking for that kind of product or service. You want to know how much money they're going to spend on average on the product or service, and you want demographics. So, how old are they? Are they male or female? Are they married? Do they have kids? What is their job? What's their income level? Because things like that we're going to use that information to do market sizing, to estimate. Okay, so if you have a friend who is 25 years old, single, works in an accounting firm and earns $40,000 a year, and that's the friend that you asked for feedback on your website, we can go out and we can count how many other people are there in Kern County that are 25 years old, work at accounting firms, and earn $40,000 a year. So we can make an estimate. If this person likes it, then, and we could find 5% of the population that likes it too, then we would have this many revenues. You want to be able to describe the demographics of your target customers so that you can actually do estimates of the size of the market. And we'll be able to go to the Census Bureau's website and other websites for public information to be able to estimate how much revenue you might be able to make based on the profile of your beta customers. So make sure to get their demographic information, age, marital status, job, income, things like that. Make sure to get how much they're going to spend, how much they'd be willing to spend on your product or service, especially what kind of advertising media they use, and how they would actually use the product or service. And then, as far as testing goes, whenever you find a specific profile of somebody who likes once you find a profile of a kind of person that likes your product or service, you want to create a customer vignette and create a market sizing for that, and then start developing a marketing plan and other elements. So depending on who if you talk to 10 or 15 different potential customers, and then you look through all of the information you learn from them, and you say, wow, these 3 people, they really liked it a lot. And what do they like? Well, one of them's younger and single, and 2 of them are sort of mid-career professionals who are in their 30s. Based on that, you can develop some profiles of your sort of ideal customer, do a market sizing, and start developing a marketing plan. So the rest of the business, you can start doing the rest of the business planning based on these initial profiles. So the customer vignette, we'll have a whole session just on customer vignette planning and customer outreach. But basically, you want to know whether, first of all, you want to know whether you're targeting consumers or businesses. Some of your venture ideas are going to be for individual people as your customers. Some of your venture ideas are going to have companies as your customers. So it's very important that you know ahead of time whether you're targeting individual people or whether you're targeting companies, because the whole outreach process and the market sizing process is different for each of those 2. You want to know whether you don't want to you don't want to limit your outreach just to people who are potential customers. You also want influencers. So if, for example, your family, let's say somebody in your family was pretty good friends with one of the city council members. The city council member isn't really going to go to your bakery, but if they said nice things about the bakery, there's a lot of people that would go. That's an influencer. So if you have somebody who could tell a lot of other people about the business, you also want to get their information and profile, even if they're not a potential customer themselves. So is the person or company in the profile a customer or an influencer? And are there different segments? Do you have a young segment and an older segment? Do you have an accounting business segment and a law firm segment? Do you have a married segment and a single segment? Depending on the product or service, it can be different, but make sure that you're cognizant of what the different segments of your market are. And then for each customer, you're going to want to know purchase frequency, price point, advertising media. We've talked about those in the last slide. What competitors they use. So what bakery do you go to right now? Where do you go to buy your groceries? Things like that. Demographics, like we talked about, you're going to want to know. General impressions, and it's always good to know whether the person is actually interested in being your customer in the future. I mean, you're talking to friends and family to start out with, so they may be really willing to give you a lot of feedback, but they don't really want to buy your product. Some of them really would want to buy the product. So it's important to make a note at the end: are they actually interested in being a customer or not? And that's what it means for include on the mailing list. Do you put that person on the mailing list for when you've actually opened the company? This is an example of a customer vignette all filled out. It's focused on myself, basically. Two of my classes, 2 different projects, did a project a while ago for the Bakersfield Condors. And they were basically trying to get more, you remember, basically trying to get more fans. Wasn't the broom ball fun?
It was fun. I'm still bruised.
Are you still?
Yeah.
Well, we did a project for the Bakersfield Condors to try and get more people to come to the games. So Um, when you start out doing a project like that, you want to start by asking some sample customers who would probably want to go to the game what all the questions that I just mentioned in those prior slides. So in my case, I am a consumer of the Condors. I was going to Condors games even before the project. I do talk to students a lot and network in the community, so I may be an influencer to tell other people about the Condors. And as far as segments go, I'm basically a single adult meal professional. Like, we had a lot of student focus in the project that we did. That's a different segment. I'm the single adult professional segment. There's the married adult professional segment. There's the married adult domestic segment. So you're not so focused on people who are what their jobs are, but you're just focused on their family situation more. Depends on the situation. But basically, purchase frequency. I was a season ticket holder for a 6-game package, and in general, I go out for entertainment a couple times a month. So, and it's important to think of your product or service broadly. So, the Condors are not just a hockey team. The Condors are a leisure activity. So, their competition is not just, there's only one Condors team in town. Their competition isn't other hockey teams. It's, do I go to the Condors game or do I go to the Firehouse to go bowling? Do I go to the Condors game or do I go to Sandrini's for some drinks? That's the decision I'm making, is between Condors versus a bar or some other thing to do for fun on a Friday night. So it's important to know how often I go out, whether it's the Condors or something else. Price point, I pay about $300 for the 6-game package, and I usually spend about $100 to $200 on a night when I go out. Advertising media, I would use word of mouth if people told me about the game. I would go on Google sometimes and look for new things to do and might find the game. If there's Yelp reviews, I tend to read those. If I get an email in my inbox and it says Condors tickets, I might pay attention to that. If I see a poster on campus or on the street somewhere, that might catch my eye. And if I had a brochure in my mailbox or something, I might read through that. So all of those are advertising media that I might use to find the Condors. Competitors, like I said, local bars and restaurants, sometimes live music I like to go out to listen to. So those are the other kinds of events besides going to a Condors game for me. This is my demographics. Like I said, you want to know the age, whether people are married or not, salary, what people's job is, where they live, and where they work. All of those things are standard demographic categories that we can use to size the market. So, general impressions, here's kind of what I think about the Condors. It's a great fun. It's kind of a small town, cozy experience, but it's still exciting and linked to the NHL because we're the farm team of the Edmonton Oilers, and it's a small town feel, but still kind of big time. It's cool. And then, yes, I was interested in being a season ticket holder. So this is what you're going to be creating by interviewing your family and friends about your adventures. Okay, so that's what I want it to look like when you're done interviewing people. Expert advisors. Talk with people who have been there and done that. I have a video here. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'd like to try it as an example of how we used expert advisors well in the internet music company that I worked in Hamburg.
Hallo Bulle TV Leute, ich freue mich ganz besonders. Wir sitzen hier in Hannover im Booster einer Rockkneipe und neben mir Rob Halford. Wir haben lange drauf gewartet, Rob Halford is back. Aber ich rede jetzt gar nicht weiter, sondern ich denke mal, Rob Halford soll all die Sachen uns erzählen, die er zum neuen Album zu erzählen hat. Rob, thank you very much that you are here, that you are joining us by Bullet TV.
Thank you for the invitation. Hello everybody on Bullet TV.
You are doing now a horror trip of promotional tour.
Yeah, my bus blew up in Berlin.
Oh my
My
God.
tour bus blew up in Berlin, outside the Halford Club in Berlin. The bus broke down.
You can watch the rest of this if you're interested. It's linked in the PowerPoint. That's Rob Halford. Anybody know who Rob Halford is? Okay, different generation. Rob Halford is. Anybody heard of the band Judas Priest? Rob Halford is the lead singer of Judas Priest. So this woman sitting to his left is a woman named Sabine Klassen. She was a VJ for MTV in Germany for a while, and when we started the music internet company, we reached out to people who had a lot of experience in each of the different types of music in Germany. So Sabina was our contact for heavy metal, and she had a band that she was the lead singer of and played in for a while. She was a VJ, so she had interviewed a lot of famous artists over the course of time for MTV. She had access to all these famous musicians and stuff. So we just had an idea for a company of, it would be cool to be able to buy music, buy merchandise, and see free videos and news about artists and information and downloads and stuff all in the same place. That was our idea. But none of us particularly knew anybody famous in the music business. So we found contacts that did have those, did know those famous people, and then used them to give us advice about how to build a business, and it made introductions for us with a lot of famous people. So it's an example of how important it can be to use expert advisors. So that is that. In addition to being able to open doors and introduce you to important contacts, expert advisors have already been there, so they can give you a lot of great information about your financials. You don't know what things are going to cost and what you're going to have to spend money on in order to get your business up and running. Excuse me, they do. They've been there, they've done it, so they can tell you you're going to have to buy this, and you're going to have to pay for this. They'll also be able to tell you what kind of customers to look for, what kind of customers to avoid. They can tell you about the competition. All the rest of the parts of the business plan get a lot of input from the expert advisors. So it's important, in addition to talking to customers, that you talk to experts as soon as you can to start getting feedback about the business. This is an example just of some of the people that I've had recently as expert advisors. We had a brewery, a beer brewing company that we did, and I had the brewmaster of a company that I know as the advisor for that. There was a basically convenience store client that there was a convenience store idea that one of my student groups had, and we had a convenience store owner to talk to them about that. One of my students wanted to build a new golf course, so we had a general manager and golf pro from a golf course to advise them on that. Bob Larrett here, there's a couple different fashion ventures. He was the CFO of a company called All Access Apparel in LA. Really good experience in the fashion industry. So I referred the students to him. There was a coffee shop, so I talked to somebody who was manager. I messed the G, sorry. So we talked to somebody at Pete's Coffee Corporate to get some ideas about the coffee business. There was a student venture that was creating uniforms and suits for concert bands. And so I put them in touch with the general manager of the Cleveland Symphony Orchestra. It all depends on what your venture ideas are, what contacts I end up referring you to, and what expert advice contacts you end up looking for on LinkedIn or in your own networks for advice. So that is a brief overview of the three foci. It's only 4:37, so I'd like to do one more thing before we call it a day. Yeah, please.
Can expert advisors do they have to be in the field still, or is it something that they have done in the past?
Oh, sure, can be in the past. A lot of times in the past is better because then they're not current competitors anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
What if if they did something that you wanted to do but failed at it, or closed up your shop?
Uh-huh.
Maybe that's even better too, to show how they would have done it differently.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I failed at my two businesses that I started, and I'm here teaching you. So there are some things that failure can teach you. It's obviously really important to talk to people who have been successful as well. But yeah, if you know somebody that started a kind of business that you want to start and failed at it, they can give you really valuable advice on what they would have done differently. Any other questions? Good question. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to do before calling it a day is turn off the screen and put up the list of venture ideas again. So, Okay, so I've got all of the ideas that you guys mentioned last time listed up here. So there's a handyman pricing and ordering app, a campus Uber or rickshaw app, a parking shuttle service, an event planning company, a Saudi Amazon, organic food company, social media ideas, youth sports ideas, open parking spots app for your phone, convenience store items drive-through, swimwear online. There's a bakery idea, beer delivery service, breakfast delivery, 24-hour pizza, drive-through liquor store, wholesale fashion, and IV delivery service for hangovers. Let's pick one and talk a little bit about who we're going to approach for customers and expert advisors.
IV hangovers. Anybody on campus?
Huh?
IV delivery deal?
Yep.
On campus, I'm pretty sure like majority of us have had hangovers before.
Yep. So not hard for target customers.
Or just go to like an expensive bar like the Mark that has like wealthy people.
Mm-hmm.
Use that crowd.
I would suggest both because
You need to do it.
I've had a hangover or two myself.
They're not fun.
They're not
Especially if you have
fun.
a bunch of crap plans
And
all day.
I wouldn't be caught in your web if you were just talking to fellow students. So you want to make sure to talk to different types of people too, because you might find that there's a wealthy segment that'll pay a lot better, and that's the one that you want to target rather than the student segment because they're not going to be able to pay enough. It's hard to say, but yes. Who would we approach as an expert advisor?
Maybe a nurse or someone who deals with actual IVs and stuff like that, like what it would take
Yep.
to get the equipment and like the logistics of it, I guess.
Yep. Who else might we want to talk to?
Someone with a business that's locally based.
Yeah, yeah. You're going to basically be doing house calls all the time. You're going to want to know what are the costs and logistics of having to go to people's houses all the time. Yep. Who else?
Pharmacy?
Huh?
A pharmacy to get all the stuff from?
Yeah, you might want to talk to a pharmacy.
What about sampling? Seeing if it actually works.
What's that?
What about sampling and see if it actually works?
He just wants a product test,
I would try to talk to somebody in the medical field or a skilled nurse or whatever about liability as well. Like, I'm sure if you're going around to people's houses sticking needles in their arms, there's going to be at a certain point, like somebody in the government is going to be concerned about that. I don't know who, but somebody's going to be concerned about it. Huh?
Just off the radar. Instead of like having an app, you just have like a little like piece of a sheet of paper with like the pull
It's
off
on the
rails.
dark net.
Make it sketchy as hell.
We don't really want to build darknet businesses though, because we can't we can't get legitimate financing and support for it. I would talk to somebody who's a doctor or a skilled nurse. If you knew somebody in the government that was like in the that if you happen to know somebody that is in the government in an office like alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, or
What about like the FDA?
FDA. That's the one I was thinking of. FDA approvals. You might ask them, what kind of license do we need to go around sticking people with a needle in their arms for a hangover? Huh?
You just have to
Yeah, it'd have to be a nurse.
Probably, but
But I was thinking, when I was thinking of it, I was
are
thinking,
you a nurse?
No, but I've talked to a nurse about it.
Yeah. So, but you yourself wouldn't know as a nurse. You need to talk to one. Okay, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was thinking it'd be like an app like Uber though type deal, where it'd be like nurses that are currently off, like not working.
Oh yeah.
And they would log in, and then but you have to pay them well, so it'd be like kind of what's the
Expensive
well.
deal.
Customers would have to be pretty wealthy. But I mean,
That's a good idea.
if you're a big businessman and you're really hungover, you can't move whatever you pay $120 to lose your hangover.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth it for you. Yeah.
How long does it take?
Like 15 minutes and your hangover's just gone.
Really?
Yeah, that's what the nurse told me.
Yeah, I think the idea of making it an Uber kind of app where you're using the excess capacity of people who already do this, it's a really great idea. How about another one of these ideas? Let's talk about another one and who the target customers and expert advice contact should be.
24-hour pizza.
24-hour pizza. Who would you talk to, customer-wise?
I would say like I would actually go to like hospitals where they have like night shifts and stuff. Maybe they're gonna order the pizza
Uh-huh.
like at odd times.
People in your shift work.
Yep. I also would. I would also talk to at least a couple alcoholics, basically, or hard party animals. I mean, people that are going to be awake at 4 in the morning wanting a pizza. I think that's not the only one. You also want to talk, like you said, to people who are on shift work and things like that. But I'd also make sure to get a couple of party animals. Who else? I just ask. I take a flyer and just ask some of my friends and family randomly about it too. You might be surprised who is interested in 24-hour pizza that you may not know about. How about it? Oh, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say like even like the concert venues, because you figure like you get out of a concert and sometimes it's like midnight almost,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like, well, what are we gonna have? And In-N-Out's closed by then, or whatever's open like at that time. So then you just get a pizza delivery.
Hard party or something?
I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you have like certain like if you like went to a concert, you can do like discounts or some type of like special for that night.
Mm-hmm.
Show them your ticket or whatever. I don't know.
No, I like it. Who would we talk to as an expert advisor? Yep.
Papa John.
I talk to people that have pizza franchises for sure. Who else?
Pizza delivery guys. The other ones are gonna see up doing shift work. That one.
Yep.
Sketchy at that time.
Huh?
It's normally sketchier at that time, so you figure like what do they need, like how would they feel comfortable about
Yep.
delivering at those
Definitely want to
times?
talk to some delivery people about what would make them feel comfortable. I definitely talk to some owners of pizza franchises.
Wondering why they're not on with them. It's weird, because if you start asking that, maybe they might change their policy and you get screwed out of the money.
Yeah.
Well, that's where you need to talk to one who you're friends with in some way. So that I mean, it's always there's. In general, I find that it's much better to be open than closed about communication for new ventures. Like if you know somebody that has a Domino's franchise, first of all, Domino's corporate has certain policies about the hours. It's not going to be that easy for somebody that owns a franchise to change it overnight. Plus, if it were easy enough to be a competitor to simply change policy with one decision, then your company wasn't very differentiated and strong to begin with. It wasn't a very like defendable position if it can be copied that easily. But I would definitely talk to people who I knew, or I know somebody that knows somebody. When we talk about LinkedIn next week, you guys will see how you can find people that I know that own Domino's franchises, or I know somebody that knows somebody. I would definitely talk to somebody that is a friendly contact, in some way, so that they're less likely to want to steal the idea. Good. Anybody else that you talk to as an expert advisor? let's do one more of these and then call it a day. Which one you want to talk about? Huh? The Campus Uber app. Yeah, I like it. Or rickshaws.
I like the rickshaws better.
Huh?
The rickshaws like on campus.
Yep.
Off the campus.
So who would you talk to as potential customers?
People walking on their car.
Huh?
People walking on their car.
Yep. Huh?
Students, professors.
Yeah.
You'd have to talk to like the campus president though, maybe.
I do that as an expert advisor. You want to talk to somebody in the administration. I mean, I'm sure. If you start running rickshaws all around this campus, somebody from the administration is going to tell you you can't do it. I don't know why. I don't know I don't know who it'll be and what their justification will be, but somebody will tell you you can't do it.
We should start doing it and see how long it takes to build that.
Well, to a certain extent, you know, I'm a big fan of asking for forgiveness rather than permission, but
You can live with a lot more doing it that way.
but it doesn't hurt to just ask somebody that you know or that I know that's a pretty good friend of mine that's in the administration. Who is going to be the first person to complain about this? Who in the administration is going to say no? You might be surprised at what kind of feedback you get on who the relevant part of the campus structure would be. Yes, what were you gonna say?
The guy is like connect for the service here, the transporter in Cal State. He's the first one you're gonna talk about that.
Say again.
The guy is responsible for transporter in Cal State and the service. He's
Uh-huh.
going to talk about that first. He's gonna say that.
Could be. Might be the like police department too. I don't know.
He'll say,
I feel like there's liabilities can go along with that. Campus liability, like if you're riding with somebody like and an idiot falls off, at that point who's liable?
Or your rickshaw
Huh?
Or your rickshaw race?
Yeah, or if it's cars instead of rickshaws, if somebody gets hit by the car, or if somebody gets hit by the rickshaw, that can actually do damage too. Yeah, it's a big deal. Who's going to be liable if there's an accident? Who else would you talk to as an expert advisor?
Rickshaw driver.
Yeah, I would. I've seen a couple downtown.
There's some downtown?
Yeah. Yeah, I took one home one time from a Condors game.
I'm gonna start hanging out downtown.
Yeah. There's not too many, but there's a couple. I mean, it was somebody's idea. I don't know if it lasted, if they still have it going
Some
around.
guy
But
outside with a bike said, "Hey, 20
about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I took a rickshaw downtown.
There's one guy, his name's Neil, and he's like a monk of his own kind of monk, and he just runs around with a rickshaw outside bars and stuff. I think his rickshaw got stolen or something.
Really?
Might be.
Interesting.
Thank Neil.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Oh,
can
well,
start
that
like a
person-
GoFundMe or something.
What's that?
We should start a GoFundMe for his rickshaw.
To get a replacement rickshaw for him? Yeah.
Everybody loves that guy, so I think it's gonna get found real soon if it hasn't already, but, that's like his only possession.
That might have been the guy that I rode with. I can't remember.
She was wearing like burlap or something.
I don't remember. It's been too long ago.
Were you pretty tore up when it happened? You took it?
What's that?
Were you pretty tore up when you rode it?
No, I was okay. But I had a date, and I walked there to meet her at the Condors game, and there was a rickshaw coming by, and we thought it'd be fun to take. It kind of just was an accident that he happened to be on the corner when we got out of the game. So I live downtown, so I can walk to the Condors game. So that's pretty much what I wanted to go over today. Do you guys have any other questions? Okay, cool. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday.